The office had grown quieter by the time she arrived, the kind of silence that follows a long day of measured conversations and calculated impressions. A faint scent of liquor lingered in the air, sharp, smoky, and oddly comforting, as if it had seeped into the walls over years of late-night eve deals and unspoken tensions. The interview room lights cast a warm glow across the polished table, where a nearly empty glass sat forgotten, its amber traces catching reflections of the city skyline beyond the window. She paused at the door for a brief second, steadying herself, before stepping inside with a calm that didn't betray the storm beneath her composed exterior. In her hand was the application form, neat and unremarkable in every way except one. At the bottom, in deliberate handwriting, she had written the words that no one else would dare. Already married to you. Hours earlier, that same line had disrupted the rhythm of routine interviews. The panel had seen dozens of candidates each, one polished, predictable, and forgettable. But her application had lingered, not because of credentials, but because of that single sentence. It had sparked confusion, quiet judgment, even mild irritation. Yet, beneath all of that was curiosity, unavoidable and persistent. Who writes something like that on a job application? And more importantly, why? When she finally walked in, the room shifted in a way no one could quite explain. She didn't rush, didn't offer an overly eager smile, didn't try to impress. Instead, she carried herself with a quiet certainty, as if she already belonged there, or perhaps as if she had once belonged somewhere connected to it. Her eyes moved across the room, taking everything in, before settling forward with an unreadable calm. "Please, have a seat," someone said, breaking the silence. She nodded and sat down, placing the application gently on the table as though it carried weight far beyond paper. The questions began, familiar and expected, but her answers were different, simple, honest, untouched by rehearsed perfection. She wasn't trying to win them over. She wasn't trying at all. Then came the moment they had all been waiting for. A hand tapped the bottom of the page. "This note," the interviewer said carefully. "Would you like to explain it?" For a brief second, the room held its breath. She looked at the words, then back up, her expression soft but unwavering. The faint scent of liquor seemed stronger now, thick in the silence, like a memory trying to surface. And then, with the calm of someone who had already accepted the consequences, she said, "I didn't think I needed to explain something that was once real." The moment her words settled into the room, the silence turned heavier, no longer professional, but personal. The faint scent of liquor, once just part of the background, now seemed to press into the air, thick and lingering, as if it carried fragments of something forgotten. He didn't respond immediately. His fingers tightened slightly around the glass on the table, the amber liquid inside trembling just enough to catch the light. There was something in her voice, not accusation, not desperation, but certainty, that unsettled him more than the words themselves. Around them, the rest of the panel sat frozen, unsure whether they were still witnessing an interview or something far more complicated. He leaned back slowly, studying her face with a focus that felt almost intrusive, as though searching for a memory buried under years of deliberate neglect. "That's a serious claim," he said finally, his tone controlled but no longer indifferent. "And not something to write casually." His eyes flicked once more to the note on the paper, before returning to her. "You're saying this actually means something?" She didn't hesitate. "It meant everything," she replied quietly. The answer landed with a weight that neither could ignore. For a brief moment, something shifted in his expressions, so quick it could have been missed. But it was there, a flicker, a crack in the carefully constructed composure he had worn all day. He turned his gaze away, reaching for the glass again, taking a slow sip of liquor, as if it might help him think, or perhaps help him forget. But it didn't. If anything, it made the feeling sharper, clearer. "You should be careful," he said, after a pause, placing the glass down with deliberate control. "This isn't the place for stories or emotional claims. If you're trying to stand out, there are better ways." Her lips curved slightly, nod, quite a smile, but something close to it. "I'm not trying to stand out," she said. "I'm trying to remind you." That was the moment the room changed completely. His eyes snapped back to hers, sharper now, searching, almost demanding. Something about the way she said it, unwavering, felt less like a statement and more like a truth he had been avoiding. The scent of liquor in the room no longer felt casual. It felt symbolic, like all the years he had spent drowning something he didn't want to face. "Remind me of what?" he asked, his voice lower now, edged with something unfamiliar. She held his gaze, unshaken. "Of a promise," she said softly. "One you don't remember making." The words hung between them, fragile yet unbreakable. And for the first time since the interviews had begun, he wasn't thinking about qualifications or decisions or the job at all. He was thinking about her, about why her presence felt less like an introduction and more like a return. The room no longer felt like an office, it felt like a space caught between past and present, where something unfinished had quietly returned to demand its place. No one from the panel spoke now. Their presence had faded into the background, leaving only the two of them at the center of a tension that could no longer be explained away. The faint scent of liquor still lingered, but it no longer felt like habit or atmosphere. It felt like a shield, something he had used for years to blur memories that were now pushing back with unsettling clarity. He stood up slowly, as if the weight of the moment refused to let him remain seated. His eyes stayed on her, searching, questioning, almost resisting. "Everyone else, give us a minute," he said, his voice firm but quieter than before. There was no argument. Chairs shifted, footsteps faded, and the door closed behind the last person, leaving them alone in a silence that felt too loud. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then he spoke again, this time without the formal edge. "You walk in here, write something like that, and expect me to just remember." There was frustration in his tone now, but beneath it, something more fragile, fear of what he might actually find if he looked too closely. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling slowly, the scent of liquor still clinging faintly to him, as if it had become part of who he was. She stood up too, not backing away, not intimidated. "No," she said gently. "I expected you not to." That answer caught him off guard. "I came because I knew you wouldn't remember," she continued, her voice steady but softer now. "But I also knew something in you would feel it." He frowned slightly, as if trying to piece together fragments that refused to form a complete picture. "Feel what?" he asked. She took a step closer, closing the distance just enough to make the moment undeniable. "That you didn't imagine me," she said. "That there was a time before all of this, before the office, the deals, the late nights you try to forget with a glass in your hand." His breath slowed, his gaze dropping for a second before lifting again, more uncertain than ever. The confidence he carried so easily in every other situation seemed to falter here, replaced by something raw and unfamiliar. The scent of liquor, once grounding, now felt suffocating, like it had been hiding something he was no longer able to ignore. "And if I still don't remember?" he asked quietly. Her expression didn't change, but there was a depth in her eyes that hadn't been there before. "Then I'll remind you," she said, not with words, but with truth. And in that moment, it became clear this wasn't about a job anymore. It never had been.